What's up, everybody? It's the best guy ever! I've been away for a little while sorting out some personnel issues due to some information that recently came to my attention.
Whoa. Who the fuck is Drumpf? So no, Madam President.
I need a new co-host. For WIAGW!
Unfortunately, this is not a Bette Midler concert. We will not be serving cosmopolitans in baked Alaska, so just play faster than you give fucking hand jobs, will you please? 1, 2, 1, 2.
Oh, that's right, WIAGW is back, baby! Why? I'm a genius weekly! Thank you once again to that motherfucker with the hashtag WIAGW noise. Thank you so much for enhancing my show. Send me your shit on the hashtag as well to sign away your valuable intellectual property. Kaboom, everybody. All right, here's what we're talking about today. We are talking about a new game that came out in 2018, or was it 2015? I'm a little confused on that. Dissidia Final Fantasy NT. Yes, that is right. The newest game in the Dissidia Final Fantasy series, the fighting game series based on Final Fantasy. Now, as I would hope each one of you knows by now, I am a bit obsessed with Final Fantasy. It's my favorite game series. I've had my problems with them. Blah, 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 blah. Sucking my own dick. Now, quick background. The original Dissidia game was a PlayStation portable game that came out in 2008. It's been 10 years now. 10 goddamn years. This was actually a point in time before Final Fantasy 13 had come out, if you can fucking imagine that. And to put it lightly, it was a different time for Square Enix. That was followed up in 2011 with Dissidia Duodecim Final Fantasy, the direct sequel. Actually, technically, story-wise, it was a prequel, but it was just better in every way, had more powers, had more characters. It was an upgrade all around. From then on, fanboys such as myself languished under the fact that there was no new Dissidia content for 5 years? No, silly. It was 4 years later, in 2015, when a game called Dissidia Final Fantasy came to Japanese arcade machines, which was a reimagining of the Dissidia system as a 3-on-3 battle system. Up to this point, it had been 1-on-1. And so fans such as myself, who obviously don't have access to the Japanese arcade market, sat back and thought to ourselves, well, time for suicide. And now here at the beginning of 2018, on January 30th, that arcade game got ported to PS4 as Dissidia Final Fantasy NT. We got it at last, guys. We got a console fighting game Final Fantasy style. Is it everything you hoped? Is it everything you dreamed? Well, unfortunately, it's not. And now let's start talking quality here, people. Fact of the matter, I am the biggest Final Fantasy fan in the world. There's no question. But I am a fan with standards, and with a limited amount of patience. Hashtag unconditional love is immoral. The first two Dissidia games I poured thousands of hours into. We're talking days, weeks, and months of my full life gone to these games. And the question is, why? Why are these literally the games? Literally, this is the series I have played more than any other, including the baseline Final Fantasy games. I know, I seem like a fucking idiot, but it's true. Simple word. Everyone's familiar with it. Fan service. The fan service in Dissidia was unlike any game I had ever played in my fucking life. Cloud versus Squall, right? Right on its face, you got Cloud versus Squall. It's a 10 out of 10 game. I'm sorry, that's just how it is. Seeing the heroes and villains of all the Final Fantasy games, the mainline ones, fighting each other, you know, duking it out, even having conversations with each other, was just, literally the greatest thing in my entire life. And more than that, the greatest thing about Dissidia wasn't even seeing Cloud fight Squall or any of that bullshit. The best thing about it was seeing characters reimagined as fighting characters. The thing that's great about fighting games based on other series, that is, you got your Smash Bros, you got your Dengenki Bunko fighting Climax, you got your Dissidia's Card Sagas Wars, there's another one. What's great about those is when you take characters who weren't already fighting game characters and you are forced to squish them into a template. Serious question, how do you make the main character of Final Fantasy 1 into a fighting game character? What are the characteristics that one could use to build a fighting game character? There really was no main character. You see, it's starting from points like that and having to, you know, intellectually determine the best avenue to realize this character for this game That's what I paid for when I bought this game once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times now I have bought a Dissidia game. When I buy a game like this, what I feel I am putting my money toward, what really matters to me, is the idea of the company having to work, having to find ways to make a character who existed in a different format real. How do we make Firion from Final Fantasy II into a fighting game character? What are his characteristics? Oh, okay. In Final Fantasy II, the whole deal was that every character could use a different weapon and could gain skills in specific weapon slots, as well as magic. So, of course, we'll make Firion the Master of Arms, who uses all the different weapons interchangeably. That'll be his thing. And we'll take the cover art for Final Fantasy II and the sprite work for Firion, and we'll mash them together and convert it into a 3D model like this. And now we'll animate him and give him all these weapons, and basically we've got a sort of a new character here, but he has all these references to the base Final Fantasy II character Firion we knew and grew up with, and here he fucking is. It's beautiful. And then, now that I've already paid for this by putting my money towards this game, what I'm also paying for is the ability to mash these guys against the other characters who have also been realized this. Cecil from Final Fantasy IV, Onion Knight from Final Fantasy III, Bart's Clauser from Final Fantasy V, Cloud, Squall, Lightning, etc. Golbez, Kefka, Sephiroth, what? Jektendal, Timisia! And man, just playing those games over and over, it's the little references they make, like the fact that Cloud's ultimate weapon that you can acquire in the game is the ultimate weapon. I mean, of course, that's what it was in his game. Of course, it's going to be here as well. Getting to experience what all their movesets are like, every minute little animation and detail of the character, you get to analyze as a Final Fantasy fan. Things like, oh yeah, Bart's using Goblin Punch here is like one of the coolest thing ever, comes from the Blue Mage class that originates from Final Fantasy V, is one of the most unique magical styles in the entire series. Fuck yes! And as someone who personally cosplayed this exact costume, I loved poring over the details of these 3D models to fucking see if they got everything right. And man, coming from the compilation of Final Fantasy VII the way I was at the time, look at this Cloud. Look at this proud fucking champion. Look at his hair poking all the way to the sky, fucking 45 degrees, doesn't make any goddamn sense, defies gravity, just like it did back in 1997 when I first played that game. No Advent Children bullshit here. This is classic fucking Cloud. Hell the fuck yes. And the final note, the fucking EX burst attacks. The ultimate attacks that every character can do that is their most powerful move. Omni Slash for Cloud, Lionheart for Squall, bunch of made up bullshit for the Final Fantasy 1 through 4 characters, and my personal favorite, Bart's Clauser with Spellblade, Dual Wield, Rapid Fire. Hell fucking yes, broken as fuck combo from that game, canonically turned into his strongest move in the fighting game. Hell fucking yes! What else? I guess there was a story of a kind. All the warriors are pulled here from their different worlds to fight for Cosmos against all the bad guys who work for Chaos. Ooh, don't really care. By far the best part of that whole thing was the excuse to make these very nicely animated individual square-off scenes between each Final Fantasy hero and their respective villain. Fucking Bart's and Exteth here, goddamn, looking sick as fuck. Okay, I'm going on a little bit too long about all the stuff I love about this game. It's a very great game. It's great to see all these details realized, turned into 3D models, and very faithfully. And trust me, I had a fucking critical eye. There was serious love put into these games. Without a doubt. But let's talk about some of the flaws real quick of those initial games. Okay, biggest problem with these games, by a fucking mile. You have to level up your characters. You have to grind them up. What? You don't even start out with all your fucking attacks. You have to unlock so many of your attacks on every single character, and then you can like equip them. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the interchangeability of all the attacks you can get, but like, what in the fuck were they thinking here? It took me hundreds of hours of playing these games to unlock every move these characters had. That is just like so Square Enix. Like, they're trying to incorporate like the RPG elements of the classic Final Fantasy games, but this is not a classic Final Fantasy game. We're talking about repetitive 3D fighting game bullshit, handicapped by not having your full moveset and doing it over and over and over again until you unlock the move so you can play the game right. Jesus Christ. It's just like one of the worst game design decisions of all time. But you know what? To be fair, That didn't stop me, it just made me play the game more to unlock all of them. I think for your average player, this would have been an immediate, well, fuck this game, not gonna play anymore, this is terrible. But for someone like me, I mean, I had to unlock every frame of animation all of these characters had, because these were my beloved Final Fantasy characters. There was no choice here. That was just how passionate a fan I was. I would have consumed anything that these people had made, but they made a pretty decent game. By the way, the gameplay itself, pretty fun. I have no doubt that your average fighting game fanatic would absolutely hate this shit. It's sloppy, it's floaty, it's imprecise, it's incredibly hard to actually land a hit against an opponent who knows what the fuck they're doing. And furthermore, because the game is on the PSP, it is incredibly hard to actually get fights. I literally never fought another human being at any point, but that may have been because I didn't know how PSP online worked. Maybe other people had better luck with that than me. That's my little analysis of the first 2 games. Don't get me wrong, Duodecim deserves a bunch of praise for, you know, it was very similar. It took it 3 years to come out, which is unfortunate, but it introduced like 6 new characters. Kane fucking Highwind, Tifa, Laguna from Final Fantasy VIII, did not see that guy coming at all. Yuna from Final Fantasy X. I was really hoping for Locke from Final Fantasy VI, but can't get everyone you want. What's that? It's the Fun Police. Come out with your hands in the air. We hear there's a new Dissidia game inside there. Well, actually, this is only for the Japanese arcade scheme. You're gonna have to wait 3 more years for it to come out to you. Okay, well, we'll be waiting right here. So like I said, 3-year waiting period in between these games. But this whole time frame is really important to dissect, because what happened after the first Dissidia came out, which was obviously the biggest deal. It was the most impressive thing about this whole Dissidia run. Well, a little game called Final Fantasy XIII came out. Final Fantasy XIII sold quite well, but the thing is, in culture, it marked a landslide moment where people started to not give a fuck about Final Fantasy anymore, especially for yours truly. The whole 13 trilogy was an unfortunate aside from what guys like me were hoping for in advancement of the series towards more mainline installments. So just think about it in these terms. In the timeline between when the first Dissidia came out and this new Dissidia NT, the one for consoles, basically the real one people might actually care about, for people looking for the classic single-player mainline Final Fantasy games, you got 13 and you got 15. 14 doesn't count, MMO. 2 games. Jesus Christ. My love for the Final Fantasy series and my expectations for it to improve and come back from the unfortunate slump that was the 13 trilogy, it never happened. Final Fantasy 15 came and went, and I know, I played that game, but little did I know I was only playing a part of a game. I was part of a grand narrative and I didn't even realize it, because foolish BestGuyEver, don't you know, nowadays you buy the base game, then you sit around and you wait for all the patches to fix the unfun parts of the game that do things like allow you to drive your car off-road. Holy shit. Then you buy the DLC packs. And at the end, you can sit around and any of your complaints will still be ignored because there will always be fanboys saying, there will be more DLC and patches to fix it. You can never actually call this a finished product. You are not allowed to judge it at any time. You have to wait. You always have to wait. I'm not doing that. My passion for the Final Fantasy series has faded incredibly strongly between when Duodecim came out in 2011 and here in 2018. And that's what's unfortunate. NT is the console Dissidia game that I used to dream of when I was playing Dissidia alone on my PSP. All I wanted was people to share my Final Fantasy passion with, and I couldn't do it because it was on this fucking handicapped console that I couldn't fucking figure out. If you could, well, great for you, but fuck me. If it had just been a console game, then I could have played it instead of playing Smash literally every night with my college roommates. And now that the game is finally here, finally something before me I can play, I just don't care anymore. I might have actually even cared if it had come out instead of going to fucking arcades in 2015 when it first came out. But no, they held it behind the wall of arcades that, like, how was a mass market going to be able to give you money, Square Enix, like we wanted to? It's like you find excuses to not take our money. Or at least you did at the time. That has all changed now. Mobile games! This is hell. I'm in hell. And I say all this Despite the fact that in Dissidia NT, my literal most desired character in a Dissidia game who I never thought was going to happen finally got in. Ramza fucking Lugria, third son of the Beul family, former member of the Order of the Northern Sky, and god hero to us all. Ramza and Dissidia would be the perfect inclusion to a game like this to make me give a shit again. But here's the thing. Now that the game's out, and I've literally played Ramza for hours, I feel nothing. Now all I see is how uncomfortable his excessively girly design makes me. That's not what Ramza looked like. And why would you choose to represent him in his main costume, in the clothes he wore during the prologue when he was still a member of the Northern Sky, when Ramza's entire identity is that he defies who he was categorized to be, a member of the Beul family, and rises above it to be a hero outside societal norms? That's why he should be wearing his fucking purple mercenary outfit as his standard. What were they thinking? I don't even care that the battles are incredibly frustrating in a 3-on-3 setting and allow you to do much less precise, calculated fighting when there are two opponents literally anywhere around you that you cannot predict. The abundance of area of effect spells make your ability to fight your opponents in an intelligent way so much worse than they were in the other Dissidia games. It's like a fucking party game now. When people say Smash Bros is a party game and not a fighting game, I don't buy that. But with this game, with NT, they're 100% right. It's like you couldn't do one-on-ones in Smash. You had to do it as a free-for-all, every time.
Even though NT fixes some of the major problems of the original Dissidia games, like the necessity to unlock many of your basic moves, it still keeps some of the huge problems, like the necessity to unlock the HP moves, which are kind of like your big finisher attacks. Plus now you're limited to one fucking HP attack move per match, significantly dumbing down the fucking gameplay. Yeah, big upgrade there.
For Square Enix, it's a tale as old as fucking time, sacrificing complexity and well-crafted gameplay for spectacle, which you completely see reflected in this game with the 3v3 setup, as well as the addition of these summons, which are, ooh, very cool. There's particles everywhere, you gotta dodge them in this big area of effect shit. But what they gave up on was the one-on-one individual complexity and the options you have at any one given moment, like you had in Duodecim. You had the ability to dodge, move, dash, activate your EX burst at any time, shift into EX mode to gain the abilities with that. You could customize your moveset, including your HP attacks, and you had the assist gauge in addition to your bravery gauge, your whether or not you choose to use your HP attacks at any moment. You had all these things to work with. Now it's all been completely simplified and reduced down because now all the complexity has been put on the fact that there are so many fucking people all over this map that you can't possibly keep track of them, especially if you had all that other shit to worry about. So they dumbed it right the fuck down, and the game is much worse for it.
But more importantly than that, what really mattered, the reason I was so devoted to these games, my passion for the series, that is gone now, and the fanboy in me is no longer willing to put up with this bullshit that kept me coming back to these games for thousands of hours. And that's why I just can't give a shit anymore.
Oh, and by the way, this whole playing online with other people thing, sure would have been nice to do that, except now I have to buy a PlayStation Online Pass. Nope. So you see, I just can't win. Things just keep getting shittier for this series. I don't have anything else to say. My passion is gone. I have no expectations for this series anymore. I never expect to be impressed by a Final Fantasy game ever again. But let me tell you what I will do forever. I will always champion the good that did exist in this series. The characters depicted in Duodecim, for example, are all wonderful. Final Fantasies 1 through 12 are fantastic games I would recommend to any classic JRPG fan. Those kind of big, bombastic stories with classic JRPG gameplay, that's what I love, man, and they don't make that shit anymore. You got your Bravely Defaults around, you got your Octopath Travelers that are trying to rekindle some of this magic, and I look forward to those, but man, they just don't make them like that anymore. I played Final Fantasy 15, man. Was not impressed. If that's where we're going, count me out. I have played all of them, and I have studied them greatly, and think about them every day in my life. And the reason I remember of them is not because I'm a freakish, obsessed fan, it's because I want to bring back the good that I recognize. People can go on and make their Final Fantasy 15s and their Final Fantasy 15-2s or whatever the fuck else they want to do, but let's also revive the classic stuff that we loved from those early Square days. That's why I just won't shut up about Final Fantasy. And by the way, everybody, little bit of an announcement. If you heard me before advertising the RADCON 3 Arena Kickstarter, well, it has officially closed now, and it has succeeded. And as I said before, there's going to be a lecture by me a la the Kingdom Hearts lecture. And now's the time for me to tell you what it is. Final Fantasy. The mainline games 1 through 15. Probably not the MMOs, because I didn't play them. I will be breaking down the lore of the Final Fantasy universe entirely, as well as the specific individual games within it. And probably some extra ones. Tactics, maybe. It is the series that, without a doubt, I have spent the most time pondering in my little pea brain. It'll be my privilege to lecture all of you on the intricate details of the lore of the series, so that you can choose to do with it what you will. You can choose to say, oh, looks like Final Fantasy is just as good as ever with 15. Thanks for the education, I'm sticking with it. Or something else. Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody who gave to the Kickstarter specifically for making that a reality and all the other content we're gonna make. It's coming, boys. March, I'll see you there. Thank you for listening, and now it's time for the P.O. Box. Transition. Transition. Holy guacamole, everybody. We've got quite a backup of packages since I've been away for a little bit, but it's time to get started on them. Let's go with this one. Check in with our boy Stanford with some eyes, moon, and sun. Looking good. Scratch ticket! I lost. Dear Best Guy Ever, if you had a Jewish friend, could he call you Best Goy Ever? Don't read this joke if it's been done before. Also, what should be done with incomplete works that have dead creators? From the genteel Stanford. There are 4 stamps left. Ooh, I like that. Release them. Fuck it. Beam package time. Holy moly, a 4K digital HDMI high definition multimedia interface? Holy shit, is this like a good game inputter thing, like the Elgato I got from Psy? Maybe somebody gave this to me so that I won't have the terrible, disgusting stream setup that I've done a couple times before. If so, thank you, my friend. Let me check if there's a note. No note. All I can say is thank you, and I will try to put this to good use. Cute little letter. Here we go. Dear Best Guy Ever, hello, how have you been? I guess that's an awkward way to start a letter, but whatever. I'm writing this because of a response to a letter you read out last week, or I guess by the time you're reading this, a few weeks ago. You said, college is a stepping stone, not an end goal, and I just want to say thank you for that, because it's just great advice? Question mark? And it's really what I needed to hear as a high school student, so yeah, thanks. Basically, Claire is asking me if I've done any fiction writing and if I like Soul Eater. I've done very little fiction writing, and I have watched Soul Eater and thought it was rad. Asura was a cool villain. P.S. I started Gurren Lagann and I like it so far. Maybe it'll fill the empty hole in my heart that finishing Kill La Kill left. I really like the main 3 characters' designs. Kamina seems pretty cool, not as cool as Ryuko Matoi or Satsuki Kiryuin, but hey, who is? Don't get too attached to him. From Claire. Oh, we got a little meme box here from Griffin116. Note. Dear BGE, first of all, your videos are goddamn amazing and an inspiration, even though we have a few ideological differences in our worldviews. I respect you for being so passionate with your message and with the way you present your beliefs unapologetically while still respecting that others have their own reasons for believing something different. Right on. I found your channel with the Galco video, unsurprisingly, and stuck around for every day and every upload of Mia Mafova, and especially fell in love with the Danbaru Nankiro Motteru video, which honestly I still think is one of your best videos so far because it had the direct effect on me, making me actually go read the whole manga after watching your video, so that's the fucking gold standard for a review videos in my mind. I hope you actually went to the gym though, because I specifically said work out, then read it as reward, so let's hope you did that too. Your thoughtful yet passionate analysis, along with those by a couple other YouTubers, Soul Porpoise, Super Bunny Hop, Klemps, and Happy Console Gamer, have all influenced me in the way that I start to write and produce my own reviews on YouTube to talk about shit that I love in a meaningful way too. Thanks for that. Also included is Corazon, or Rocinante, whatever you want to call him, that I promised on Twitter. Oh no. Take care of him because he's one of my favorite figurines I've been able to get my hands on. But I figured you having him around might spark some more of an appreciation for his character in you. Absolutely love One Piece and glad to see someone with taste such as yourself enjoy it to some extent as well. To some extent, I'm the biggest One Piece fan in the fucking world. Go watch the podcast, my dude. Thanks for the great content of you shouting your opinion at the camera in entertaining and thoughtful ways. Look forward to seeing more of your videos. Griffin116. Here he is, folks. Rocinante. Yikes. And lastly, we've got a little package here that I bought myself. But I wanted to open it on camera, because fuck you.
Today's my graduation.
I got the Caro Caro album on vinyl, baby! How fucking sick is that? Oh, it's got all the songs. It's got them all. They actually just released like a new EP like literally today, so I'm gonna have to go listen to that later too. Fucking Kiro Kiro poster here. Goddamn lyrics and shit. And just fucking look at that. Oh my god, I fucking love it! This is by far the most aesthetic record I own.
Try me, did you know I can't do anything?
Alright, that's enough of that bullshit, everybody. Address is below again if you want to send packages for me to open here on fucking WIAGW. But moving on to the Q&A. Alright, everybody, hashtag AskBGE. Time to get through some of these backed up questions, so let's get the fuck to it. At Stinky Boy Rafa asks, just watched your Kingdom Hearts lecture today. It was great, by the way, and realized that Xehanort is an anagram for no heart. Well, you're forgetting the X, but no heart plus the X. Since I don't think you brought this up, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. That is a widely, known fact, and it's almost certainly where the name actually came from. Does it have more significance? No. Of course not. It's Kingdom Hearts. Everything's meaningless. If you want to hear me talk more about the Kingdom Hearts stuff recently, check out my streams on the Bestie Boy channel. Talked for a fucking 2-hour period about the new trailer, about the theme song. Don't think twice. Hashtag don't think twice. Wait a minute. If Xehanort is no heart plus an X, then Xemnas is... gay. At Kushpai asks, hey, best dude, do you listen to rap? If you do, what kind of artist do you listen to, and who do you consider your favorite? One last question, have there been any rap songs that left an impression on you unlike any other art forms? Well, there was one song that was 10% luck, 8% skill, 15% concentrated power of will! Aside from that one, I legitimately like Eminem a lot, who I've actually only recently gotten into. I was never into rap as a kid, only now that it's kind of hitting more of the mainstream, I'm getting into it, so I've been listening to some of the Eminem stuff. By the way, I'm much more of a plebe, single listener. I don't go and listen to albums unless I'm, really interested in them, like something like this. I recently listened to Forever Is a Mighty Long Time by Big Crit, who I fucking love and think that album is dope. Kendrick is pretty great. I've listened to some Kendrick albums. Tried to listen to Mad Villainy, because MU loves it so much. Thought it was not bad. Yeah, I don't know, man. I have pretty plebe taste when it comes to hip-hop and rap and shit, so, I'll leave it at that. Oh, here's a great question from Psycho_17. Hey, Nate, just wanted to ask, how are we meant to consume the podcast? Is it meant to be listened to during reading the chapter page by page, or immediately after reading, or question mark? P.S. Big fan from Kurdistan. Hey, what's up, buddy? Fantastic. Let me clarify. Here's what you should be doing. You should be reading One Piece up to date, chapter by chapter, and you should read the entire chapter, and then you should listen to the podcast. If you want to have the chapter open and be paging through as we go through it, I would highly recommend doing that as well. It's an audio-only show, so we don't edit anything in terms of the pages or anything, but if you want to follow along and read the chapter as we're talking about it, that makes perfect sense to me. I basically read the chapter as we're recording the thing, and we're talking about the panels, so I think it's a perfectly reasonable way to consume it as well. But the most important thing, be up to date, and it's meant to be read as you're reading One Piece chapter to chapter. I wouldn't think it's a particularly great show that's meant to be listened to from the start, from somebody who's recently gotten into One Piece and wants to listen to okay, read a chapter, listen to the podcast. Read a chapter, listen to the podcast. Because a lot of what we do is speculate about the future. So, there's going to be some things lost here if you don't read it week to week and listen to our show week to week. But, yeah. That's what I would do. And at Kuwachi here asks, in the PCP HQ episode of the Procrastinators podcast, you mentioned that WIAGW is taking too long to edit. Perhaps you can impose certain restrictions to streamline the process, e.g. edit in only 10 minutes of discussion, a word limit. It may stifle the discussion, but you'll get the bare essentials out. You know, these are reasonable ideas, and things like that are really what I should be doing. Even this episode, I promised myself I would not ramble. Maybe when I go back over this and edit it down, it'll be a lot shorter. But I've been recording this for about an hour and 10 minutes from the start of this whole fucking thing we're doing. And you hear a lot less of that in the final product. But limitations like this do make some kind of sense, and frankly, I do want to streamline this process more. I don't need to talk for a million fucking years. Honestly, what this is the fact that I don't script anything. I just throw my thoughts out there, and then I like fix it in post afterward. So that is like a post-heavy process, you know? I make it easier on myself when I'm recording, and then fix it in editing. Because honestly, I prefer editing. I have so much control. I can do anything I want there. Oh, it's the best. Mwah. And speaking of imposing time restrictions, our time has come to an end. Thank you for all the questions, everybody. Hashtag AskBGE to send yours in, and I will possibly read them on the show. Thank you, everybody who sent in those packages using the address over bleh. Please, everybody, subscribe to the channel, like the video if you liked it, and make sure that you go to my motherfucking Patreon if you want to support me financially making the show and helping me go full-time making this content. Hopefully you like what you see. You should definitely check out the Procrastinators podcast if you like what I do, my weekly podcast I do with all my buddies over on that channel. If you're a One Piece addict like I am, follow the Podcast channel, another link down below. And all of you should be hyped for RADCON 3 Arena, confirmed, coming in the middle of March. That means I will be away for a week while I make that content, but it will mean that after that I will be able to create such glorious stuff for you. The Final Fantasy lecture is coming, everybody, so brace your fucking asses for it. But also don't get too hyped, because I'll probably fuck up a lot. Just like I did with Kingdom Hearts. But, you know, people are a lot more strict on Kingdom Hearts lore. For some reason, people care way more. Probably because it's a continuous story. But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. See you soon. It's time for this boy to sign out. Here I go.